Hello, and welcome to the Come to Your Senses podcast. I'm your host, embodiment-based coach, Mary Lofgren. Here, we explore how to live bravely and beautifully through a lifestyle of embodiment. You'll hear gems to empower you around mindset, mindfulness, somatic psychology, and neuroscience, as well as beauty, food, style, and the art of slow living to meet your soul through the senses. I am so happy that you're here. Let's begin. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Come to Your Senses. Happy to have you here today as we explore one of my favorite topics and one of your favorite topics, which is magnetism. Any episodes that we've done on magnetism in the past or revolving around some of the themes having to do with magnetism always get a lot of positive feedback and a high level of listens. So I'm happy today to be continuing to explore this topic of moving from your magnetism. So magnetism is a concept that can sometimes be a bit esoteric, shall we say? But magnetism is also a concept that is quite scientific. Everything that we are in relationship to, everything that we want, everything that we have, possesses a magnetic charge. And so in today's episode, we are going to be talking about how to quite literally move from your magnetism. So whenever I'm working with a client in a coaching session, we begin the session by setting an intention. And that's another way of saying bringing the tangle to the center. You know, if you think about like untangling a necklace that's been tangled, the intention setting is just looking at the tangle from different perspectives and getting a sense of what we're working with. And then the embodiment portion is a way of working with the tangle that utilizes your full system of intelligence. So if you've ever worked with a tangle in a necklace, you know that pulling on it and, tangles can be like Rubik's Cubes. It just feels insolvable. You might get a safety pin in there to try to figure it out and pull it apart. And there's a lot of effort involved. And then sometimes, almost as if by magic, the tangle will start to release. And oh my God, that feeling when you are able to release a knot or a tangle in a necklace is ecstasy. And there's almost a partnership with the necklace and a release of control that has to happen in order for that tangle to become undone. And so it is with embodiment coaching, is that in order to access our deepest seat of wisdom and our richest source of magnetism, we must ask these more analytical, tight, gripping parts to release so that a quality of flow that is just not possible with the mind alone can be revealed. And so in today's episode, I'm going to take you through some, once again, quite literal body-based explorations of how to connect with a different kind of intelligence than the kind of intelligence that allows us to force a solution and to drop your raft and recline on down the river of your own magnetism as it lives in your body. And I do want to say that since I just talked about coaching, I've recently opened up my books to take on 2 new coaching clients. And if you're interested in working with me one-on-one and seeing the results that come from 3 to 6 months of weekly sessions, one-on-one accountability, and a regular guided, facilitated experience of dropping into this river of magnetism and this bigger, deeper kind of intelligence that your body possesses, head to schoolofsensualliving.com/coaching, and you can learn all about the embodied intelligence coaching method, the options for working with me, and you can fill out a coaching conversation request. Voila! And now let's dive into our gems on moving from magnetism. So as I said at the start of the episode, everything that you are in relationship with, people, places, things, ideas, scientifically, there is an electromagnetic charge in that relationship. And you may have heard that the electromagnetic field of the heart is X amount of times, hundreds of amounts of times more potent than the electromagnetic field of the brain. When we say, follow your heart, lead from your heart, listen to your heart, what we're really talking about is that just like the brain has its own kind of intelligence, which is really good at sorting information, the heart also has its own intelligence that speaks through the language of sensation and intuition and the way that the body quite literally holds our records and our stories. And if you've ever had an experience where you want something so much, and then just when you get to the point of success or havingness, you tend to do a gorgeous, flamboyant high dive into the pool of self-sabotage. If so, you're not alone. That could be a sign that while your mind desires something, is in agreement with something, that your body may be holding a different story. And so let's begin with our first gem. And this is a small droplet of a bigger exercise, which is a magnetism session. In embodied intelligence coaching, we focus on all different sorts of themes. And my background is through the School of Embodied Arts. And one of the tools that they teach us is around magnetism and studying how that shows up in the body. And so the question is to think about something that you want, something that you desire, and to notice in this moment, where is that thing in space? Is it inside your body? Is it outside your body? And just noticing how you feel about that thing. So I'm just going to give a few seconds for you to orient, and you can always pause this episode to go deeper with this exercise in your own embodiment. What I notice is that the thing that I'm holding, the thing that I say that I want, is outside of my body. It's just beyond my reach. And it's almost like that thing is the autopilot response of what I want, that there's this deep craving inside of me for that thing. But there's also this feeling of fear and almost bordering on terror. And that what my hands want to do is not actually reach out and grab it and tell it to come closer. My hands actually want to go up in defense. I'm going to be doing an embodiment coaching session on that now that we've explored that orientation in my own psyche. And you might notice something completely different. But, what we're doing here is we're just kind of gathering information. It's not right or wrong, good or bad. It's just the body speaking in the language that it speaks, which is honesty. And now, taking a breath, letting your body reorient a bit, and noticing, how does that thing feel about you? What do you notice that it holds towards you? And so what I notice is that this thing finds my resistance and defensiveness really cute. And it says, I'm willing to wait, but I also want you soon. Like, it's totally willing to wait. It loves me. It's compassionate towards me. It understands, but it wants me to experience the joy of having it. And so it says, keep going. Keep doing this unraveling that you're doing and let it be simple. Doesn't have to be complex. Doesn't have to be a collegiate program in resistance. Can be so simple, one step at a time. And so again, that's a peek behind the curtain of my own psyche as it relates to this one particular desire. And as you gather information about your relationship to your desires, this is a conversation of polarity, of wanting and having, reaching for, pushing away, opening to, shutting down to. And this question, like all questions, is simply a key that opens the door to a bigger question and may not offer a specific answer, but will most likely reveal the next pebble on the path. And that brings us to our next gem, which is finding your magnet within before you start walking. And so if we imagine that the path to your desires and your wants and your needs is a path, it's quite normal and common for the mind to see those desires on the path and say, "Ooh, there it is. Run, go get it." But once again, if the body holds a different charge or holds a different story, your body might trip your mind along the way to slow it down. And so an exercise to do right now is, if you're standing or seated, to just feel what's beneath you. So I'm wiggling my hips like I have a tail, and I'm rooting down. I've got my hands on my thighs as I sit here, and I'm just feeling the support that's beneath me, the floor, the earth below the floor, bringing my lower body on board to just give my body a sense of safety and being held. And I'll then invite you to draw your awareness into the center of your body. And so perhaps allowing your upper body to move forward a little bit, but moving from center. And then doing the same thing as you allow your upper body to move back. And now allowing your upper body to lead and go in whatever direction it wishes to go, but quite literally moving from the center of your body, where you're not just, oh, it's time to move my chest, thrust my chest forward. It's like a movement that comes from within. And now I'll invite you to, once again, initiating the movement from the center of your body, your center of gravity. Extend your arms. And just noticing how that feels. And then finally, if you're standing or walking, I invite you to begin to move your body in space, walking, moving from your center. And this experiment is an experiment of moving at the pace of your being. And magnetism is, once again, this intelligence that brings all parts of you into the equation. And so when you're leading from the mind or the impulse, no problem. Both very valuable parts of your intelligence. Don't want to kick them out of the clubhouse by any stretch of the imagination. But, here in America, we supposedly have a democracy. And so that means that we all get a voice. And so moving from center, instead of just allowing one part of your body or your consciousness or your psyche to lead, is moving in a democratic way where all parts of your being get to come along for the ride, which is highly magnetic. Wholeness, if we look to nature, wholeness is very magnetic. The essence, the syrupy sweetness of a lily beckoning to the bee to pollinate is a reflection of wholeness. All parts of that lily are harmonizing to attract the bee. And if that lily were fractured or injured in some way, and some of its parts were not online, its signals simply wouldn't be as clear. And so moving from center, this is an exercise, that I hope you're able to do right now with me, along with my voice, but also as you move through your life. Maybe you are going into a negotiation, and this is a somatic technique that you can bring with you into that meeting, where as you enter the room, as you sit in your seat, as you allow your voice to form your thoughts and your knowing and your intuition, you have a little bit more of a grounded, embodied sense of moving from center and moving from all parts of you, your greater field of intelligence. The next, we're doing a lot of body-based exercises today, which I hope is as fun for you as it is for me, is understanding the language of seduction as it communicates itself through your body. And so if you're new to my work or to this podcast, you might not know that the history of Come to Your Senses originated in studying seduction. Seduction as a spiritual practice between you and life, the seduction of the way that the divine expresses itself through your senses, and seduction as a study in attraction through authenticity, rather than the old paradigm of seduction, which is kind of framed as seduction as manipulation or control. Attraction through authenticity is actually a surrendering of control. And so with your body, actually with your hands, once again, as you just feel down into your roots, get your lower body on board, maybe you look around the space to just orient to where you are. I want to invite you to take your hands and mimic the sensation of what it feels like to grab and to grasp. So what I'm doing is almost like I'm catching a baseball or a tennis ball that's being thrown in my direction. What is it like when you grasp and you grab after your desires and after what you want? What I notice in my own body is it's very tight, it's very fast, and kind of any tennis ball could be coming in my direction. There's not a lot of discernment of, ooh, that's the one that I want. I'm going to focus and make myself open to that. It's kind of like, I'll take anything. And now you can rest your hands, clear the palate a bit. And imagining, once again, that thing that you desire is in the corner, I'll invite you to position your body as if to seduce it. And again, if there is a charge of defensiveness or pushing away, I want to just speak to that part and say that you don't have to merge with it in this moment. You can push it away immediately after doing this exercise, but this is just, once again, a gathering of information, how to create a greater sense of closeness and beckoning, and that electromagnetic charge of moving towards at a pace that feels good, using just your body and just your body gestures. So you might use your hands in a different way. What I notice is that my posture opens and my heart opens. My gaze softens. And instead of closing and grasping, my hands are just open. They're ready to receive with a loose palm. And once again, questions are great for finding answers, but often just lead to more questions, deeper questions, broader questions. And so the question that follows is, what does that tell you about how you move through your everyday experience? So I would say across the board, 100% of the clients that I work with begin embodied intelligence coaching because life moves so fast and they feel stuck in this gear of autopilot where there's no sense of emotional depth or intention or purpose. They just feel like they're treading water, gasping for breath. And they know that there's a different way, but the autopilot feels so deeply grooved in their body and their being that they don't know how to get out of it by themselves, and they need some support and some structure around that. And so these mini embodiment exercises are like a little taste of what we explore in embodied intelligence coaching. And I urge you, once you get that information, the information of how your body responds, what seduction feels like in your body. And you don't have to unlock the mysteries of the universe here, but in just the tip of your index finger, can you feel even a glimmer of the energy of seduction? And the question that follows that is, on a really practical level, how can I embody that in relationship to my life? So relationship to my people, to the places, the things, the actions. What does my body know about that? Body, what would you have me know about that? And the final gem that I want to share with you is actually inspired by my good friend, Ali Monday, founder of Lady Groove, which is a fine art nude photography, somatic, sensual photography studio in Greenville, South Carolina. You can check her out at ladygroove.com. And this morning she texted me about an interesting encounter that she had at a coffee shop. And I said, wow, thanks for sharing that with me. Feel free to send me a voice note about what that felt like. And an hour or so later, she sent me her feelings, and this is why I love Ali so, so much, is she is, of all of the thought leaders, teachers, people who have made their life's work embodiment, she sent me a video of her moving her feelings. And so this gem is when you want to move with your magnetism, often the inroad and the pathway is to move with what's real and move with what's here. So, Allie, I remember, there was a moving across the forehead with the hand. There was a lot of deep breaths. There was music playing. There was a pressing down with the hand around the belly and the pelvis. And I could just feel all the different flavors of what she felt. And I fed back to her that I saw tenderness and aliveness and awkward discomfort and beauty and acceptance of life on life's terms. And I've asked her permission to share all of this, by the way, P.S. And so how this might show up in your life is when things happen, either momentous things or miniature things, the default is often to analyze. So Allie could have sent me a voicemail with all of the analysis on the past and what it means and what it brings up for her in her childhood. I share this because I do this all the time. I have a mentor in my life who I study with and have a deep, deep friendship with, and I leave her messages like that all the time. And what was so different about this is that by moving with what was here and what was real, it not only included the whole story, but my sense is that it cleared the path for Allie's total being to articulate and then release and then go on to have a different experience. Whereas when we get stuck in analysis, and human beings are the only animals who really do this, animals in the wild might be chased by a predator and then they shake throughout their whole body and being and release all that adrenaline and cortisol and then go back to being a happy, healthy, foraging creature. But humans have this power to recollect and to analyze and to visualize and imagine the future. And so we can do that, which is a tremendous gift, but forget about the shaking and the processing through the totality of our being, which is not just the brain, but is the whole body. And so, again, what this might look like for you and what this looks like for me in my day-to-day, gosh, I remember a time where I was in deep, deep trenches of grief. And I would just be walking around my kitchen, going about my business, going about my day, and then be struck by a wave of grief. And I remember one time in particular, just like, going about my day, and then all of a sudden just collapsing into the wall, falling to the floor on my knees and just wailing and letting that wave of emotion move through, which, the human body is really just a mimicking of the greater body of the earth. And so just like any other wave, it'll crest, it'll peak, it'll pinnacle, and then it will fall. And then it will recede and a whole new wave will come in. And so by moving with what's here, instead of or in addition to masticating what's here through analysis, it clears that channel of your magnetism to process and open even further to what you want, because there's no emotional residue taking up space in your magnetic channel. So, my loves, speaking to you and your gorgeous, glorious, fabulous magnetic channel, I hope that today's episode has been helpful and more than helpful in attracting what you want helpful in helping you feel more rooted and connected to the totality of your wholeness and of your being and your ability to be vulnerable and walk through the world as yourself, which is the intention of every episode here at Come to Your Senses. And if today's episode sparked your interest or stimulated your appetite to learn more about what it might be like and what might be possible for you if you had a guided, immersive, fully supported experience of leading not just from your vast intelligence, but from this genius that we call magnetism, head to schoolofsensualliving.com/coaching. And I would be delighted to talk to you about those possibilities and see if a coaching partnership is right for us. Thank you, as always, for being a beloved member of the Come to Your Senses community, and I will see you in next week's episode. For coaching, classes, and community in creating a lifestyle of embodiment, head to schoolofsensualliving.com. There you'll find a free video series on how to reduce anxiety and intercept the stress response through powerful, confident body language. Head to schoolofsensualliving.com/confidence to watch your first video today.